Hello, welcome to this video. Now this is more of a request video, and this is about issues that clients have been having lately and how we can all work together to make sure that they don't become a problem. And this video is all about the issues caused by spaces, pots, whatever you want to call them. Stay tuned on this one, because I think that this is a bit of an issue that all accountants and clients are going to have, and we're going to need to work together to be able to make sure that we keep your data as accurate as possible. Hello, my name is Aaron Patrick. I am a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer of Fancy New Logo, that QuickBooks chap on the internet, head of account here at Boffix, and also your friendly podcaster who goes live each and every Monday, 8:30 AM for Ask the Accountant. So this video is all about the world of pots, spaces, and everything in between. Now, first of all, these are an amazing idea, and if your bank doesn't offer it, it might be worth having a look at a bank that does. Typically, they're what we would call challenger banks, and let me show you a few examples of what I mean by this technology. So an example of this to show you is in the world of Monzo. Okay, so in the world of Monzo, couldn't be simpler. It's called Create a Pot. You go into the Create a Pot option, and you can either choose it to be a pot that's just sat there as almost like a separate bank account, but I'll explain why it's not a separate bank account in a minute. Or you can even do it as a savings. If I just do regular savings, simply create using manage, somewhere to store, not to spend, I understand. And then from here, I can call it whatever I want. So I could call it savings for tax. I can put a goal, I can lock the pot, I can add an image in the Monzo app, and I can say how much do you want to put in there. So I'm going to go and put first £50 into that pot, and it will move over. Now, the idea of pots are really clever, because instead of you having to create individual bank accounts to move money around, these are instant and you can do them at any point in time, but they're not separate bank accounts. They're really just ring fencing money that's already in a current bank account. So from your point of view, they're amazing. And we encourage all of our clients to be using pots. Another example of a pot in a different one would be if I go to Revolut. You have what's called pockets in Revolut. So pockets with Revolut, very, very similar. One of the nice things about this one though is you can actually set an expense to leave that pocket. So in this case, I can go into this pocket that I've got, and I've got my Apple $4.99 subscription coming from there, and I make sure that it gets topped up by £5 each and every month, so there's enough money in that pocket to be able to pay for it. I can add more money in like I've got there, I can withdraw at any point, and again, this isn't a separate bank account, this is a ring-fenced amount within my normal Revolut account. And then if I go to Starling, another great example, and this is one where we've seen it the most. I go to what's called spaces in Starling, and from there I can have taxes and all sorts, and I create spaces and put money in there. And again, from a point of view of you as a consumer and you using a bank, this is brilliant. As a business owner, you can put away your tax money. You can even set it in some circumstances to automatically go and take some of the money that you've received, and a percentage of that can go directly into your savings. Think about for VAT how powerful that can be. And we have clients who absolutely love spaces, pots, whatever we're going to call them, because what they do is they can go and ring fence each and every penny they have in their bank account, and that leaves them to know exactly how much money they've got left over. Maybe they're looking to withdraw the money, and maybe they're looking to make a new hire, whatever the reason is going to be. If you can manage your cash flow in that space, then this is definitely a really powerful solution, and we want more and more people to use it. But what's the problem? Well, the problem is the way we bookkeep for it, and the problem is the way that we are actually going to be able to do bookkeeping on your behalf, or review bookkeeping that you've done and you want Boffix to come along and do an MOT. Now, in both those scenarios, pots cause a massive issue. Now, I've already done a video on how QuickBooks itself is actually designed to deal, or can be designed to deal with pots itself. It's become quite a popular video, and that's because if you deal with it in a certain way in QuickBooks, then we can get around some of the limitations. The main limitation will be that when you connect your account to QuickBooks, especially in the Starling world, then Starling balance will be based on the balance that's left after all the pots, which is fine because that's what you want to be working towards. But as a bookkeeper, we don't see what those pots are within QuickBooks. Not currently anyway, there's an update coming later down the line. As it stands in time, if you move money from your bank account to a pot, then you're going to actually be in a position where we, as the bookkeeper, won't know what that pot amount's going to be. because there's a QuickBooks connection. All we get to see is the money that moves within the normal bank account. So this can cause a bit of a tricky situation. And you can think about it from our point of view, especially if that pot just has a generic name. Imagine that pot is Apple, for example, or taxes, or HMRC. And all we see going out of your bank account is the word taxes, Apple, or HMRC. Anything like that, well, you can forgive us for thinking you're paying Apple or you're paying HMRC. But in fact, if you're just moving that money from one account to another pot or space, then the danger is that we're going to misallocate that actual expense. And from QuickBooks' point of view, we can't see that transaction anyway. So it's really difficult for us to understand. That's where you can really help. The first big tip I would say is make sure that when you create a pot or a space, that you actually call it by that. Spaces, taxes. That way, if I put the word spaces before every one of my pots, then I know that every time I move money back and forth to it, it's going to be called spaces, whatever you want to call it. And that means I now know that every transaction, every movement that's related to there relates to this space. So first and foremost, please be mindful of what you're calling your spaces, your pots. Ideally, call it what it is at front, spaces, pot, whatever you want to call it, and then whatever it relates to. That way, we can know that when that transaction appears in your bank, we know to post it to spaces. Okay, so that helps us be able to identify the transactions. But that's only half the story. The biggest problem is how do we know how much money is in that space or pot? Well, you'll be shocked to know this, but if I was to get a statement from Starling, for example, and I downloaded that statement, well, the spaces transactions don't exist on it, because remember, it's not a bank account. It's not a separate bank account. It's not a different bank account. It's the same bank account, just ring-fence those transactions. So what happens is we ask for statements off you, and it comes up with a completely different number than what we've been reconciling to. Imagine you've been really prudent and you've only left £300 in your bank account because you know you've put every other expense that's due into a different space. Well, if we then get your bank statement off you and it's actually £10,000, well, suddenly we've got issues in terms of making sure that we're happy that the figures are all correct. And this becomes a major issue, especially when we can't see the spaces transactions within the bank account. So how do we get around this? Well, first and foremost, we have a structure, and again, we've done a YouTube video on exactly how to combat that as best we possibly can. But we are going to need some information from you. And it's one of two options. Number one, within the banking app, we need you to be taking screenshots of those spaces and sending those over to us. Now, this isn't ideal for anyone. A, for you, because it's an extra step for you to remember to do, and B, for us, because we only get a snapshot of when that space was, and we've got to work backwards and hope that we've captured all the transactions to be able to put the transactions in. So that's one of our problems. We can rectify this by using a third party. We call it Bank Fetch, and it's by a company called Analytics. And if we go and ask you to do an Analytics request and ask you to put your bank details in, then you go through the process, and we'll do a video on exactly how that's done, but you'll go through the process of providing the data. And when we get the data back, they're really clever and they will actually split out those spaces transactions for us. It's magical, it's wonderful. The only problem is there's an additional cost to that. So you've got two options. First option is by making sure that you take screenshots of your spaces on a regular basis and send it over to us so we can reconcile on your behalf. Second one is you accept the additional charge and we use the Analytics approach to be able to bank fetch so that we can grab that data. It's just a massive shame that we can't just rely on bank statements from the likes of Starling to be able to do our job. But unfortunately, this is the position with it. And finally, a bit of a do not do scenario, or at least if you are going to do it, you're going to need to let us know about every single transaction that happened. And that's don't actually make payment from the individual spaces. Remember the scenario, we can only see what's happening in your main bank account, not what's happening in your spaces. So if you make a payment from a space, we don't have any visibility of that until those bank statements arrive. Thankfully, when the bank statements do arrive and we do a reconciliation, we can see it then. That's not real-time information, and that's just going to delay us in actually getting information over to you that could be crucial. So please, as much as possible, if you do need to make a payment from a space, transfer the money from the space to your main account and then make the payment from the main account going forward. If you do it any other way, we're going to really struggle to be able to get access to that real-time information for you, because QuickBooks, as it stands, only lets us know transactions from your main account. Now, we are working with both Starling, QuickBooks, and with the others as well, and trying to find a better solution for this. And there are better solutions on the way. They're just not going to be very attractive, because ultimately it's just going to mean that you, as the user, are probably going to have to add all the individual spaces. And we've got clients who has at least 50 to 100 spaces at this point in time, and having to add each individual one probably not going to be easier. So we're still going to have to rely on probably these third-party solutions, rely on screenshots, rely on being able to have up-to-date information to be able to make sure we can do the best we possibly can. And there we have it. There's an update on Spaces. They are an amazing, amazing solution within the world of banking and great innovation. And as a small business, I'm using these Spaces for my businesses, because it's the only way that I can make sure that I've always got the money available for some sort of payment that's going to come through, especially something like taxes, VAT, PAYE, all of those sort of things. So please do yourself a favour, have a look to see if Spaces is right for your business. But if you do, then please do work with us to make sure that we get the right data to you, so that you can ensure that your data is always absolutely tip top. And that's it. That is a breakdown of the world of Spaces, pots, whatever you want to call them. That's going to be something that's going to be an issue for us going forward. But as we work together, I'm sure we'll be able to make sure that there's not a problem whatsoever. They're the problems we're facing. They're the problems that can cause an issue for you. But following the instructions, there'll be no problem whatsoever. If you have any questions at all, please use the comment section to let us know, or let us know what type of account you're using. Does yours have Spaces? Is there any we're missing? Is there anyone else out there that's offering this Spaces scenario technology? Because I really do like them. I think they're an absolute brilliant bit of innovation. And I really do encourage for more innovation like this going forward. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget, if this helped you in any way whatsoever, please use the like, subscribe button, all that sort of stuff. Our channel is going from strength to strength, and it's all thanks to each and every one of you, and we can't thank you enough. My name's been Aaron Patrick. This video has been an absolute pleasure to do for you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.